deathless titans placed upon the face of the earth 3 generations of men, the first of them being men of gold. Becoming too close to gods themselves, Cronus ended their time on earth with an eternal sleep. A second generation came to be, the men of silver. Unwilling to serve the Titans and make sacrifices upon the holy altars, as all men shall do, they were condemned to dwell under the earth for all eternity. Finally, a third generation, the men of bronze, a brazen race, sprung from the ash tree. Terrible and strong are they. Join me as I tell you the tales of the men of bronze. This is Dragon's Blood, Odyssey to Dionysodoros, Episode 7. Gamden and Sunisret walked outside and around the back of the mansion to the cellar. They rummaged through every nook and cranny and found a short bow marked with indecipherable runes, plus a quiver of arrows. Beyond the walls of Khefu's mansion, Gamden and Sunisret slowly walked the path leading into the forest, constantly looking for their dinner. Akhom may be a priest and a pompous prick, said Sunisret, but he seems to have been a good friend of Khefu's, and if he was your master as a boy, you turned out all right. I guess I can trust Akhom. You're right, answered Gamden. He is both of those things. But now that I have had time to think, I do remember Akhom more now. Khefu always greeted Akhom with friendship, and he was always welcome to come and go as he pleased. Did Akhom really train you as a warrior when you were here? Asked Sunisret. I always thought you were just a terrible thief. Gamden stopped, turned, and motioned for Sunisret to bend down to look him in the eye. First off, stated Gamden, you big bastard, I'm a great thief. Second, I was trained by Akhom, and I will pin your ears back if you're not careful. And lastly, the other thing I didn't tell you is that Khefu taught me how to use magic. Maybe tonight in your sleep, I will turn you into an ugly toad. Probably be an improvement. For a moment, Sunisret had a genuine look of concern. Then he laughed and said, Out of my way. My dinner is out there somewhere, and I'm getting hungry. Sunisret pushed his way past and continued walking down the path. Come on, these pheasants might be too much for me. I might need help of the mighty warrior Gamden. Shut up, you big bastard, shouted Gamden, and with a smile he started after him. A little while longer, and a bit further down the path, Gamden said, It is getting late in the day, and with the winter solstice here, the sun will set soon. I think I'm going to starve to death, answered Sunisret. Stop for a moment. Gamden looked through his pack and pulled out a metal tube. I almost forgot that I had this in my pack. It's a spyglass. What does it do? Asked Sunisret. It makes things that are far away look like they are at arm's length. Gamden expanded the spyglass and brought it into focus. Try it. You bring it up to your eye and look through it. Gamden demonstrated, then handed it over. Sunisret looked through it. Amazing, he mumbled. Looking a little off to the left, he saw a group of pheasants. He lowered the spyglass. I can't see them without this thing. Amazing. Quietly, they continued up the path, trying not to spook their prey. Let's take cover behind the tree up there. Gamden pointed to the bend in the path. I still can't see them. Sunisret kneeled down by the tree, looked through the spyglass and focused it. Slowly scanning the horizon, he whispered, There they are, pointing off to the left and handing the spyglass over. I see them too. Who's the better shot? Asked Gamden. I couldn't hit an elephant from here, answered Sunisret. Gamden readied his short bow, drew the arrow, took aim, and released. The arrow leapt silently from the bow with the speed of lightning. Gamden and Sunisret looked at each other for a moment. Firing another arrow into the nigh caused them to scatter. When they reached the pheasants, the arrows were nowhere to be seen, but the dead pheasants had perfect kill shots, and the wounds were cauterized. "Let's go," said Sunisret. "I'm starving. And these are nice fat birds. Can't wait to roast them up and have some wine." Always thinking with your stomach, Sunisret. But this time, I agree. Let's go. Gamden hesitated for a moment, looking for the arrows, with no luck. "I can't find those 2 arrows anywhere." "So what?" answered Sunisret. "So what?" continued Gamden. "This is most likely a magical bow of some kind." Gamden looked closely at the bow as they made their way back to the mansion. "These runes must have something to do with it. Very faint, and I don't recognize the language. When we get back to the mansion, I will have to decipher them." "Talk, talk, talk. That's all you do," said Sunisret. "All I want to do is eat and drink until I can't drink no more. Come on, I'll race you back." When they returned to the mansion, Sunisret stayed outside and started to prepare the pheasants for roasting. Gamden went inside and looked for Akhom. He found him in the library, sitting on the floor. When Gamden stepped in, he said, "What took you so long? I thought you got lost." "I thought you were asleep, so no need to hurry, right?" answered Gamden. "I heard you come in the front door. Poor excuse for a thief, I think." Gamden said nothing. "Yes, Khefu and I kept tabs on you. He thought highly of you. Best pupil he ever taught." "He never told me that," replied Gamden. "Well, he did. Now help me send him to the gods." Akhom gestured towards the body of Khefu. He had taken care to wash the corpse and anoint it with precious oils. Then he had wrapped it in clean cloth, on which he had written essential prayers to help Khefu take his place among the gods. "Khefu said there was something unique about you," continued Akhom. "He had never seen anyone else learn and use magic so easily. He wanted you to stay, but you ran off in the night before he could talk to you." "I didn't want to hurt him. I couldn't talk to him," stuttered Gamden. "He wouldn't have understood." "He loved you like a son," replied Akhom. "He never told you how you came into his life." "I asked him many times," replied Gamden. "But he would always change the subject or say that it was not time for me to know." "Khefu wanted to wait until you were 16, Gamden, but you left on your 14th birthday. Khefu never took on another student after you left. He thought that he failed the gods, who brought you to him and was no longer worthy to serve them," replied Akhom. "I was so angry. I had to leave the mansion. He wouldn't tell me who I was," blurted Gamden. "I knew he wasn't my father. He was so old. I could just tell." "Pick up the corpse and carry it outside, Gamden, and I will tell you what I was told." As they left the library, Akhom began his tale. Khefu was alone on a stormy summer night when there was a loud knock on the front door. When he answered the door, a tall cloaked figure was standing in the rain. The stranger said, "This child needs a good home, Master Khefu." The figure opened his cloak to reveal the child wrapped in swaddling garments. "Love him and teach him as if he were your own." Khefu asked the figure who he was and where he came from, but all he would say is that the child was a gift from the gods, who was not to know his true lineage until he was 16 years old. Akhom and Gamden walked outside the mansion into the main courtyard, where Sunisret was busy roasting the pheasants over a small fire. "Those birds almost ready now?" asked Akhom. Sunisret looked up with a mouthful of meat and nodded, his head in agreement. "I'm ready for a good meal. Gamden, put the corpse on the cairn behind you, and then come eat." While they ate, Akhom explained more of the reasons why Khefu could not tell Gamden where he came from. Can you forgive him, Gamden? Yes, now I can. I'm older now, and I have learned so much on my own. I can understand the conflict that was in Khefu's heart every day. He really did love me as a son. I do remember that. That makes me happy. Akhom stood up from where he was sitting near the fire and wiped the supper from around his mouth. Gamden, I need your help and your friends too. We need to build a funeral pyre and send Khefu to his rightful place next to the gods. Last year, when I was here, I cut a lot of wood of the old growth down in the main courtyard and piled it by the old stables. Help me bring the wood over. On the way to the stables, Akhom continued, Gamden, there is something else that you should know about your time with Khefu. He saw that you used magic very easily, almost as if it were a part of you from birth, and that your mastery of magic would make you powerful one day. Sunisrit laughed out loud and said, All this time you have been masquerading as a terrible thief. Gamden threw a large stick and hit Sunisrit in the chest. Now that I have found you again, Gamden, I intend to continue your magic training. Khefu showed me the text that he wanted you to learn. My knowledge of magic is nowhere near that of Khefu, but I will do my best. I'm afraid that won't be possible, Akhom. Sunisret and me need to be on our way first thing tomorrow. Then I will come with you, said Akhom. I gave my word to Khefu, and I mean to follow through with it. We're on a job that will take us to Azurda, said Gamden. I can't pay you for his services, and the journey will be perilous. I know the road to Azurda well, and my payment will be fulfilling my word to Khefu. Gamden and Sunisrit looked at each other, and they both knew it would be best if Akhom were to join them. Welcome to our party. Sunisrit took Akhom's hand in friendship. The last pieces of wood were put down to finish the pyre. Akhom picked up the corpse and placed it gently on top. Then he took out a small dagger and made a cut across his right hand. He began to write sacred runes in his own blood on the funeral shroud and softly sang hymns. When he was finished, Akhom bandaged his hand and said, Khefu is ready. I have prepared his corpse in the time-honored ways. The gods will be pleased and will let him sit with them for all eternity. Just as Akhom finished what he was saying, Khepri jumped up on the pyre and laid a freshly killed mouse on the funeral shroud, meowed loudly, then jumped down to Gamden's feet, purring. Akhom took a burning log from the cooking fire and lit the pyre. When the fire took hold of the wood and began to burn hot, the runes that Akhom had placed on the shroud began to glow brilliant blue, and did so until the corpse was completely burned. The night is late, said Akhom. If we have an early start tomorrow, we will need our sleep to make the best of the short winter days. Let's sleep in Khefu's house one last time. Look for episode 8 of Dragon's Blood, Odyssey to Dionysodoros, on YouTube.